What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? You're listening to the Show the Art podcast. We are your hosts, Ames and Abe. Abe, let them know who we're talking to today, brother.
Today we talked to Ryron Gracie, black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. He's been training literally all his life. His grandfather is Grand Master, legendary, the great Helio Gracie.
Don't mess that up, man.
Great stories he told. He's an awesome guest.
We went straight into it. That's why we're doing this intro right now. But before we throw on that interview, quick shout-outs to some special sponsors. Yeah. Delicious Chimera Coffee.
What is Chimera Coffee? Tell them real quick.
It's coffee that's delicious with nootropics, brother.
That's
from the Dominican Republic.
That's
so
it.
You know you're getting some goodies.
Drink that right before you train jiu-jitsu.
What do we type in?
In ChimeraCoffee.com.
Yeah, let's mess that one up.
Yeah.
So no biggies.
ChimeraCoffee.com. Type in the coupon code showtheART and you will save some money.
Every penny counts. Enjoy this episode.
I had to spell it, and I say Tyrone without the T.
And the R is kind of silent.
Well, now it's more about spelling.
Yeah, true.
I don't care how you say my name. Just spell it right. The other day I did something. I don't know what it was, but I was on some interview, and they spelled my name wrong. It was it was a whole Gracie family special about my dad, and they spelled my name wrong on the screen when I was talking, and I'm like, really? How you gonna email me for the last 3 months about please be on my show? And speak on my show. I'm out there speaking, and you put my name wrong on the screen.
How was the spelling? What did it say?
Well, it's actually somewhat justified because in Brazil, the letter Y in the Brazilian in the alphabet in Portuguese is not very. It's almost like It's I don't even know the true story behind it, but it's as if it's in the alphabet, but it's not. It's a sometimes in the alphabet letter. It's weird.
Yeah.
I should do more research as to what it is, but my father always made me feel like it wasn't quite in the alphabet. So the letter I, R-I-R-O-N, makes more sense. When people say Hiron, they would never imagine the letter Y. So it's very rarely used, I guess. I'm going to do more investigating. So my dad was going to actually make my name R-I-R-O-N. That was actually the plan. So they spelt it how he wanted to have it be, but either way.
Yeah.
Audible.
I mean, it does make a little bit... I mean, if you try to say it without the first letter, right? R-Y-O... It might sound better with the Y than the I anyway. Because they might read it Ryron.
With an I?
Yeah, with an I. You guys made the right pick with the Y.
It's Brazil. It's Brazilian pronunciation.
Yeah. Come on, Abe.
So they're going to read it different than you're going to read it.
Yeah.
No, I mean in America. Yeah. I was speaking,
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Cool, man. So
can't worry about Americans. just Brazilians. Let's all worry about them, and the Americans will learn later. Only from my name. Even though America is first in my world.
True.
Yeah.
When it comes to my name pronunciation, it's Brazilian.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah.
Nice.
So what's up?
Good,
Nothing, man. We're just hanging out here. We were gonna do an intro, but you already introduced yourself. You already just jumped right in. So I think we'll just keep going. Is that okay with you?
Yeah. I spelled my name out for everybody.
We both did, just in case.
So the first thing I wanted to cover is growing up in the Gracie family. I mean, it seems like someone like me who trains jiu-jitsu, I've been training jiu-jitsu the past 9-10 years. I'm a brown belt now. I feel like I've been following the good of everything of jiu-jitsu. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Self-defense, I make sure I cover. Leg locks, I make sure I cover. Gi, no gi. I try to do a little bit of everything because I'm interested in everything. So it's kind of surreal to talk to someone who comes from the original family. So growing up in that family, how was it to be training as a normal thing?
Well, it was completely normal, right? So especially Ames said, he's been using that, James with no J, since he can remember. Jiu-jitsu is all I've ever known.
True.
So it was very normal. And people always ask about pressure and and there was no pressure. And naturally, at the ages of like 12, 13, there's slight, fear of falling short of family expectations and things.
True.
But that's just natural for all kids. You're kind of building your identity at that age. You're just a little man in your own mind.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, though, everything was very simple. We just do jiu-jitsu. And yes, at times, whenever you're learning jiu-jitsu from your uncle or your father or your grandfather or your family, it's not as easy as learning it from just an instructor.
Yeah.
True.
It's like there's an added pressure and an added, fear of disappointing / maybe I'm still mad that my dad, took away my toy for me doing something else, and now he's teaching me. I don't even want to give him my full attention, and because he did that to me yesterday during breakfast time.
Yeah.
But it was very regular, and I think that I feel like I myself, and even Henner a little bit, like the Gracie family in general, like when you grow up in a family like this, it's very common, which there are not any families like this. So only those who are here will know this. But I felt like, when my grandfather back in the day and his brothers, when they did something, I don't know how much my grandfather's children and nephews kind of questioned and like maybe did things differently and didn't feel so pressured to do exactly what they were told to do.
Okay.
And now myself, as I'm growing up, and I'm like, wow, like, I can see how there are pressures and expectations for me to do this, this, and this. But I'm realizing that I don't have to quite do that, I can say, you know what? Hey, I don't want to do this. And, one example is fighting MMA. And obviously it's always excited me to fight. And I've always thought about it and kind of hung out with people who fought MMA. But the pressure of that is complete. There's no more pressure anymore. It's completely lifted. And some people throughout the years of the Gracie family might have fought, partially because they have this fire, this desire to fight, but partially because they feel like they have to.
Yeah,
I see.
And I did feel like I had to a little bit for some moments, but fortunately I kind of came to realize, and this was with the help of course, my grandfather and even my father a little bit, but just making it very clear that the purpose of fighting MMA is no longer to prove the effectiveness of jiu-jitsu, but it's to prove that you are a superior athlete.
True.
So for me, they say, hey, my grandfather said, hey, if you're going to fight and make good money and you're curious about it and you want to have fun and test yourself, fine. But don't fight to defend the honor of the family or jiu-jitsu anymore. So now maybe he couldn't say that to his kids because at the time of his children, when they were fighting, it still had to be proven a little more.
Sure.
And that's obvious because the UFC came during my father, Hoyce, Hickson, Hoyler, Helson, Holker, all these guys, all of my uncles.
Yeah.
Harbin in Spain. So all these guys, they did their different fights, whether it's in Brazil on a street or in the academy behind closed doors or in an arena, wherever they had to fight, they were very much the proving ground. And besides my immediate uncles, their cousins, right? There's many people besides those that I just named.
Sure.
Yeah.
But the point is that they kind of had to, because what they did, for those years now allows me to sit back and teach everything that I've learned from everybody who came before me.
Sure. And now when you teach, people understand that it has already been proven by the people before you. So now the expectation is kind of lowered, right? Or not lowered.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, then some would argue, they would say, well, it has to constantly be being proved. You have to constantly be proving this over and over because, for example, there needs to be a champion today in the Gracie family fighting so that people still believe in the Gracie family. And that's where people are confused because I don't need you to believe in the Gracie family. I need you to believe in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. I need you to believe in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I need you to believe in the Jiu-Jitsu that Carlos and Helio Gracie and all those guys in that generation, trained every day and fought to perfect and learn and master. Yeah. So the Gracie family is the family that happened to be the ones that were, pushing this art the way that it was, to the level that it got, to the level that it is now, to where it is now. But, if there's not a Gracie family wearing a belt in the UFC, it doesn't matter. Because if you peel back enough layers, you're going to find a connection to the Gracie family in that person.
Absolutely.
The history books have already been written, basically.
Yes.
And I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Sure. I was going to say, and basically what you're trying to say is you are one of you are the first generation of that family that didn't have to prove the job has been kind of done already.
Yes.
So now your kids and their kids, it just keeps going from there.
Yes. And, once again, if our kids want to fight and my nephews or whoever, will help them.
Yeah.
But, it's not quite what it used to be. Now it's very much a show. It's very much entertainment. And you see this because obviously you see fighters like Conor McGregor.
True.
The guy is an amazing fighter, yes, done amazing things, and he's also an amazing entertainer.
Yes.
And that's why he's being treated so well, and his face is everywhere, and he's making the big bucks. So it's a different world where, 60 years ago, all they cared about in Brazil in a stadium with, 30, 40,000 people was if you were good at what you did. You just good fighting. So my grandfather was fighting in Brazil, way back in the days, and he's, just showing how the technique will overcome size and strength.
Nice,
and
man.
that was enough. There was no extra behind it. Although he himself was, now that I think about it, my grandfather had how do I explain it? He almost had a little snap to the way that he was,
Okay.
He was a sharp guy, he had the smart comments and
witty, would you say?
I guess from being the smaller person his whole life, and always being like the little guy, you kind of, whenever you're the smaller person, I feel like you're a little bit more, you're quick with your words.
Yeah.
True.
That's the equalizer. When the size is not there, it's the words that become the equalizer.
And as his technique grew, his words kind of stayed there, and he even got better with his words.
Oh, nice. Now, do you remember do you remember the earliest memory of training jiu-jitsu was for you? Like, do you remember your first? I know you can't predict the first class, but do you remember the first time you really wow, I'm in a jiu-jitsu, or I'm training jiu-jitsu, I'm learning this?
You know how it is. They all kind of blend together.
Yeah.
But I remember some very young kids classes, which was probably like the age of 8 or 9.
Okay.
I don't remember being 3 and playing with my dad jiu-jitsu. Sure. I've seen pictures of me, whether it be at a mall doing a demonstration or at a park, but I don't remember those at all. And the funny part is that my kids today were playing in my garage and we're doing this kind of stuff. And but it isn't even about remembering.
Yeah.
Because whether or not I remember, it doesn't matter. But whether or not that had an effect on my natural ability that I have now, that's for certain.
Ah, I see. So now you're learning, you're realizing that, and it'll help you be a better father, is what you're saying?
Well, no, I'm just saying, all those little, at 2-3 years old, you might not remember them, but they're still in you.
Yeah, it was ingrained.
Everything is built on that.
Yeah.
So people might feel like, wow, you're so smooth and so natural. I'm not smooth and natural. I'm not a natural at jiu-jitsu. I was just doing it at 2, 3, 4, 5, that eventually it just became all that I know. Sure, some people, I know some guys that train that have been training for 2 years and they move better than me.
Wow.
Now, not better than me right now, we can't compare us both, but pound for pound with only 2 years of experience, and this person's 30 or 39 years old, 40 years old, the way that they're moving, I can tell that they just have a natural ability.
I see.
So the benefit of being a kid, and having these little, moments with my father and my uncles and my grandfather playing jiu-jitsu is that it helped in the end. It turned me into a natural.
Yeah, that time spent working at a craft. Yeah. One thing I want to stick with was family, because my wife and I, fortunately, we're expecting a baby April 14. So one thing that's been on my mind is like how my life is gonna change. So do you have any like tips of like or like how did you do things? How did you manage to balance everything? Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you said you're a brown belt, right?
I am a brown belt.
I'm new to all of this. I am a blue belt. I'm like 2 years in now.
Got it. So you're having a baby.
Yes.
In April. That's my baby's April 12th.
April 14th. So, we're close. Okay.
And it could be 2 weeks early, so get ready.
Yeah.
Have your emergency kit ready to go.
I got it.
So yeah, as for balance, you're saying when a child is born, obviously, you know, I wouldn't try to balance anything in the first like 10 days, 20 days, 30 days. Don't try to make a schedule for yourself. Like, oh, I still want to do this and this and this. Anything you can stop doing, stop and be there for the mother of the baby.
Got it.
100%. So, you know, and I kind of grew up a little bit different, like to where almost like the man does his thing and she raises the kid. But it will never hurt you to say, let's say that you like to go bowling and you like to go mountain biking. Stop all these extra things to some degree and just baby. Your work, just whatever your normal job is, and this podcast, let's say, that will be like a vacation to you. When your baby's 3 weeks old and you go film and you go record a podcast, you're gonna feel like you're in Fiji, like you're like at this most relaxed resort of all times, and you're just gonna maybe the escape of all escapes.
Okay.
Compared to what you're gonna be feeling at home with, even though the baby's fairly easy that young, with lots of just, you know, babies diaper changing and nursing and diapers and nursing, and that's it. Sleeping and nursing and eating. Yeah. So, but balance. And then once, you know, things start to get, you know, a month old and now everything's understood and you have a system down at home, then gradually you just cycle it back in.
True.
Fortunately for me, my job is my hobby.
Yeah.
So it's like I said, work is an escape, but then again, you have to get back to doing things that, you know, to take care of yourself, and you have fun. And the same way you have to think about your wife, or if, you know, how's the mother of the baby going to have moments to herself? And it's going to be hard in the beginning because she's recovering from giving birth. But as soon as possible, it's almost like you have to find ways for her to, even if she has to go take a walk for like an hour.
Okay.
Anything that she can do, because, you know, if they always say, happy wife, happy life.
Yeah. I'm learning that.
And that's not quite true. It's happy people, happy life. So even you, if you are unhappy, it's a problem.
True.
And if she's unhappy, it's a problem. So you have to make sure, and now you're going to naturally worry about yourself and you're going to make things happen. You're going to go work and make money and train. But she, because she has the baby there, and naturally at the birth, she's more connected to the baby because she's been carrying it for 9 months. And it's like everything. So she's going to have a harder time making time for herself.
Okay.
And then before you know it, she's going to feel like, oh my gosh, I can't breathe. So it's almost like you don't want her to feel that way. Even her being out of the room with the baby and you know, give a bottle to the baby. So anything possible. I didn't do it as much as I should have.
Okay.
But my wife works with moms right now, and we're reading a lot and learning a lot. So I could have done more of that in the beginning, but maybe I'm the third kid.
Yeah, lesson
maybe
learned.
I'm the third kid.
Yeah.
Practice makes perfect.
No, that's good advice. And I hope to have kids one day, and I'm going to definitely take that advice. That makes so much sense. Like, you haven't been carrying the baby for 9 months. You didn't go through the baby being born from your body.
Yeah.
You're not the one that feels 100% responsible for the child, as you are responsible, but not like the mother feels. So any 5 minutes you can give her, you give her.
Yeah.
No, I would say a little more than 5, but
Rookie.
Yeah, 5. Honey, if you want to have 5 minutes, go to your shower, you can do that, honey. You can shower today.
But you only have 5 minutes.
But get back, because I got to train.
Don't clean your hair. Don't shampoo your hair.
That's unnecessary. That's unnecessary.
You're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Trust me. So speaking of babies and family, I had a question for you. Are there any memorable stories from training in the Gracie household, maybe as a teenager? Anything that sticks out in your mind more than others?
I guess not so much training in the household. I mean, that doesn't stick out more than others. I appreciate it, and I remember, obviously when you have certain people in the living room, and I remember our carpeted living room was when we had training in the garage back in the days, and we had, and I would have cousins and uncles and whoever over, and brothers. It happened more with my brothers and I, but it was so common for my father and when my grandfather was in town for them to kind of just go over techniques on the carpet, like wherever, just like randomly, like, hey, let's do this little move right here. Standing self-defense technique, ground technique. And today at, 34 years old, I have friends of mine that kind of like on the carpet, they'll want to like do a little something. And I don't mind going over a move step by step. Yeah. But when they want to add resistance, I get a little bit like, come on, like, I feel I don't like resistance on carpet in normal clothes.
Yeah.
I don't like to sweat let's say in my pajamas, in my sleep clothes. I don't like to even begin to feel anything other than just complete relaxation.
Yeah. And comfort.
So, but I remember as kids though, it wasn't like that. Like we would be about to go to sleep or first thing in the morning and to do a couple of techniques here or there, like, listen, hold him down, you try to escape. And my dad kind of watching and encouraging us to like play on the mat happened all the time. And I was all about it. But now 30 years later, if there's not a green mat and I don't have my perfect training attire, I'm off. Like I'm off work. And I'm wearing a gi and I'm on a mat like 70% of my life.
It's true.
So don't make me do mat behaviors and gi behaviors at home.
You got time.
That was always funny as kids doing that. And also I remember also as a kid, a couple of times, stories happen. Like one great story was we were at the beach surfing and Rener was out in the ocean surfing, and Rener's somehow cut off some guy, and Rener's board went into this guy's surfboard and put a little hole in it.
Oh no.
The guy comes out of the water. The guy was probably 16 years old, kid, 15, 16, 17. I think I was probably 2 years younger.
Okay.
14 or something, 13, and Rener's 12. That's like the age. So the guy is 4 years older than Rener, easy, and I'm right in between them. And he's pissed off. You took my wave, or somehow Rener just messed up, just learning how to surf. And I remember my dad saying, hey, listen, we really apologize. We're sorry about that. These kind of things happen, out there in the ocean. But the guy kind of maintained a negative energy and looking towards us, probably like 20 or 30 feet away. Mm-hmm. And then my dad said, if this guy keeps having a problem and he wants to, come over here and complain more, be prepared to fight him.
And how did you take that as a youngster?
I took that like...
He's like, what?
Well, at first I'm like, what?
Exactly.
Why am I going to fight this guy? What do you mean fight? I don't want to fight nobody. Yeah. Well, not only that, but especially when I'm only 13, 14.
Yeah.
And this kid's 2 years older. This guy's a giant, even though he was just a normal sized kid.
The puberty kicks in fast.
Yeah, my grandfather and my father always said that, we have no idea what we're capable of. So, and you really have no idea when you're 13, 14, 15, 16. Once you get like 17, 18, then you're like, boom. When I hit 17, 18, then I was tapping out I was a brown belt. I was beating black belts and guys that were 40 years old, 35 years old, no problem. But at that age, at 12, 13 years old, at 14, maybe I was 14. That's the last thing I wanted to do was fight. But fortunately, the kid did not walk towards myself, Rener, and my dad. But obviously, it's probably because my dad was there. You have a full-grown, 42-year-old man.
It's true.
Sitting there on the beach with his two sons. You're not going to walk towards that to start a problem when you're only 16.
Yeah.
Sure.
Smart man. Or smart kid,
very
actually.
Fun story. Yeah. I remember there was a time when I almost got into a fight per se. Actually, a couple of people were trying to jump me. Okay. And then it's actually a funny story. I'll make it quick. And a couple of people were trying to jump me and my friend. And I had just started training martial arts at this point. I was probably 16 or 17, probably 16 on the younger age. And So they were waiting outside of this restaurant. Like we were at like, I don't know, Burger King or something. And they were waiting outside of the restaurant, like, and they kept sending people in saying, "Hey, we want to fight you." Like, it was like very movie-esque. Hey,
Wow.
like one person comes in, "Hey, we want to fight you." Then I say, "No, thank you." They leave. Then the next guy comes in, "Hey, we want to fight you. You're a punk." And I say, "No, thank you." Then they leave. Then the next person comes in, "Hey, we want to fight you," and the insults get worse. And they kept like going on and on about this. And me, I was a big fan of Bruce Lee. By that time, I was a big fan of UFC and Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. I had just gotten into martial arts. So I was very understanding of the situation, but also, I'd like to live by the code of martial arts and be respectful and all those things that come along with it. So I kept not wanting to get myself into this issue. Then the guy provokes me, and I kind of defend myself, but people separate us. And then I call my dad before that. He was on his way this whole time. So finally, when he gets there, the people had already left. Like security moved us away. So then my dad picks me up. We get in the car. He's like, "What happened?" And my dad's a martial arts fan as well. He's like, "What happened?" And I tell him the story. He's like, "All right, we're going to drive around and find these kids, and you're going to fight them." I was like, "What? Hold on. What?" And my dad was 100% serious. So we get in the car. He starts driving around, and we could have just gone straight home. He made a left turn, then a right turn, and we started driving around. And just my luck, we literally find these kids. It's like a group of 5 kids. 100%. He gets out of the car. He's like, "Hey, you." And then he's like, "Get out of the car with me." And we get out of the car. He's like, "Listen, you guys were picking on my son." And then they got a little tough. He's like, "Listen, you guys are going to fight my son one at a time, and I'm going to watch. And he's going to beat you guys one at a time, and I'm going to watch." He's like, "So who wants to start first?" And then literally everyone turned into little babies, and they're like, no, man, and they ran away. And, like, that was a profound moment for me. Like, man, the power of your dad. Like, the confidence he had in me. Yeah.
Yeah, you could have got beat up for all, He probably even believed it was a good chance that you might get beat up by one of the kids.
Yeah.
So even if you can win or not win, doesn't matter. The fact that he worded it by saying, listen, he's going to beat each one of you one at a time. That confidence just in that sentence right there makes him say, well, the kids that are, those 5 kids are like, who wants to get beat up first? Well, not me.
Yeah. I got dinner. I got to go home.
Yeah. Hey, I think my mom's calling me.
I know.
Yeah, but that profoundness, like, and it took me, how many years to understand and comprehend the whole scenario, and like the confidence and just the power of believing in yourself and standing up for people,
and someone believing in you.
Yeah, and someone believing in you,
especially a father figure, man. That means that.
Well, yeah. A father, not just a father
man.
figure.
That's just ingrained. That like what Hiro was talking about before. Like everything was ingrained in him when he was like 2 to become who he is right now in jiu-jitsu. Why is the same thing? Like having a father figure is such a big thing. Like, coming from me, my dad wasn't there as much. Great dad, but wasn't there for much. So like just seeing that relationship. That's why when I have a kid, I want to make sure like it's cool hearing the stories of the Gracie family, like how you guys brought up or how you guys were brought up, because it's something I want to instill in my future family.
Sure. So basically, all in all, to sum it up, that was my closest feeling to being part of the Gracie family.
Yeah, that's actually a very Gracie family type event. That event, that makes sense. A father bringing the kid to fight another kid, and father's watching and being okay with it. It's very normal.
And then everybody backing off because of it. Nice.
Yes, and many times I would say in the years of my father as a teenager, young man, they wouldn't back up though, because Brazil's a little different. I think.
Okay.
To be in Brazil and say, my son's gonna fight one of you guys right now. You're gonna have more people walk forward to fight, even to fight against Helio Gracie's children.
Yeah.
Which in America, it's
different story.
Fighting around adults is not quite what kids are taught to do.
Yeah. So, what's a typical day or look like for you? Because I know you're a busy man. So, what's a rundown from like morning to night look like for you?
Typical day. If Rener and I are both in town, we film for Gracie University.
Okay.
So we do that for 2 hours every morning. It's usually 3 or 4 mornings a week. It's never 5 mornings a week. It's very rare.
Okay.
But 3 or 4 mornings a week. Right now, he's teaching in a police course out of the state. He's in Texas. And then after we film, we teach. We have group classes here at the academy. So I'll do, 1 or 2 group classes in the morning time, a private class once in a while. I have like 6 or 7 private students.
Okay.
So maybe, 2 or 3 days a week. And then we have our lunch break, go home for like 5 hours, 4 hours, watch kids, play with kids. Used to like take 2.5 hour long naps. Now if I get like a 15-minute nap, it's like amazing.
That's gold. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I come back in the evening for more classes, 1 or 2 classes. I'm doing a little bit less group classes now because I'm spending more times with, more hours with the kids, especially in the evening. So I can put them to sleep and then come back like for a night class.
Okay.
So like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. Tonight I'll do like 2 hours from 7:30 to 9:30.
Sure.
Okay.
And how often are you training like with the class? Are you always teaching and then rolling with the students, or
Yeah, I would say I roll almost every day, 75, 80% of the time.
Sure. Okay. Very nice.
Yeah, when I don't roll, it's just because I probably rolled with somebody early in the morning in a private class that was very advanced, or maybe helping somebody train, which right now we're not really helping anybody train for an MMA fight. Okay. But sometimes you have friends that are preparing, so we're helping them. So then I might not roll. Or if I'm going to train somebody that at nighttime, they'll come in. If I train somebody, I'm going to roll with somebody who's a fighter in the evening. I'll save myself in the morning, stuff like that. But I'm a very, I roll a lot. I don't know most instructors. I don't know if most roll or most don't roll. But from my experience, there's a good amount that don't. From what I've seen, and it makes sense, and even like instructors, like how enthusiastic are you when you're on the mat? Because people can become a little bit complacent with teaching jiu-jitsu, and you're doing it for 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, so much teaching, same people, new students, always changing, people quitting, and the fact that you might have 1 year 100 students, and then 4 years later, you have only 20 of the same ones and 80 new ones. That might be a little tiring. Yeah, that can be tiring as an instructor. Like, man, you put so much time and energy in, and people are just falling off. And even in kids classes, I teach some kids classes. I probably teach like 2 or 3 a week. Yeah, and you give so much energy and passion and attention to a child, and then 4 months later, the kid quits. Yeah, like I almost feel a little bit like, even though I never come to a class, I want to say frustrated and not ready to give 100% energy and passion and excitement to the technique, because every technique is amazing. Yeah, and every class is amazing, and I'm hyped to be there and hyped to teach those people. I'm always turned on. My dad said, if you can't come here turned on, don't come. Call in and have somebody else cover for you. So the fact that, kids do that, and even adults, a small part of me feels like, wow, like, I wonder, like, there has to be some level of commitment. Like, not that you can make somebody stay, but it's almost like it's a little bit of a waste, Yeah. You have some students that are going to be there for 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and you give them everything. Yeah. And they stay. And then you have other ones that, you give everything to and they quit. And then you have the other 1/3 that didn't get too much attention, but if they would have had more, they would have stayed. Absolutely. So you never know where to put your attention. But when it comes to teaching classes, rolling with people is a good way to give to them. Students appreciate when I roll with them. Yeah. They really like rolling with higher belts, and especially the instructor. And like, even if I give them a little feedback of like just one little small tip from what I've, felt, it's greatly appreciated. And as for rolling with students, the reason why I'm able to roll so often is because the way that I roll with them is very, it's very give and take. I'm not too concerned with having to impose my will and, show them that I'm superior and dominate and destroy and tap them out every roll.
There's a time and place for that.
Yes, I'll roll the purple belt sometimes, or a brown belt, or blue belts even. And if their defense is like, if it's correct, I'm not going to use brute strength to kind of break through their defense and submit them.
True.
I'm going to allow their defense to prevail. Because it's my job to show them, like, hey, you're doing things right. Imagine if they're defending correctly and I just kind of outmuscle them and kind of grind them and beat them.
They might lose confidence in that technique, even though it was correct.
The last thing you want to do is discourage somebody from doing something. And that might discourage them from using that defense. Or that might discourage them from coming back to the mat and from training again. So we have to be very protective of our students. And yes, is there a 5% of the population or 2% that even if you beat them like a pulp, they'll still come back? There is. Yeah. But we need to think about the 90% that don't want to get beaten to a pulp. They want to learn the art. They want to have fun. They want to be mentally and physically challenged. They want to have the camaraderie. They want to learn self-defense, right? They want to learn the principles, and they want to learn how, jiu-jitsu applies to all of life, and they want to be more patient and more observant and right, just more efficient, and they want to live the life.
Yeah, 100%. And that's great coaching advice, especially me. I'm a coach. I've been teaching for like 2 years now, and I'm learning as I go, and I'm growing, and I'm starting to notice things like that. Like you just said, like you got to be on. When you get in here, you got to be on. You're only teaching for an hour, only an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. Be on or don't come in. Yeah. And like you said, you gotta commit to the students. I'm committing to you, and you commit to me, and we'll work this out. But I can never, even if I feel like this person is not gonna be here for the long haul, I can never assume that, because what if they're not, and then you don't give them right? Yeah.
Well, or what if they even might say, I've asked classes, like, how many of you guys see yourself only doing jiu-jitsu for a few more years, like 2 or 3 more years, but not really too concerned with doing it for the rest of your life? And I'll get like 4 or 5 hands, but now they're here 5 years later. So They had no idea how much jiu-jitsu would impact them. And so now, before you know it, they're still on the mat. So, and you know what? That's kind of cool. Like, to some degree, somebody's saying, listen, I don't even know. I'm just going day by day. That's almost a good approach.
Yeah, like keep your expectations a little low. I don't know what I'm going to figure out. And I want to, it allows these people to fall in love with it. And and it doesn't matter, I came in for this reason or that reason, but I'm allowing myself to like it for other reasons more than the one that I came in for, right?
Yes. So basically, you do it while it makes sense.
Yeah.
That's what I think about.
Yeah, the one thing that I learned, I come from the strength and conditioning field. A lot of this applies everywhere. Like that, when we coach, it's really how are we as leaders? Because a lot of times I found out that some people are really into it. Some people just want to get away from life. They have 1 hour or maybe an hour and change to get away from things. They have their kids, they have their job. So when they lift, it's their way of just kind of getting away and
escaping.
Exactly. So we have to always remember that. It's like, how can we make this hour the best for them? Because I used to catch myself being just out of it. I would teach, but I wouldn't be as enthused. And then I don't know what happened where it clicked in. Like, man, these people need you for that 1 hour because you don't know what they're going through, like life or just work or just anything.
Might be the shining star of their day.
Yeah.
100%.
Right. And it's funny because I had mentioned to you through text that I visited your school actually twice. And the most recent time, the first time I visited, it was just, I was on vacation and I just showed up and I bought a t-shirt, but I didn't take class. The second time I did, I was kind of coerced by the people that were working at the front desk. They just insisted. I was like, all right, let's do it. So me and my friend, we jumped into class. And I just want to talk about that experience a little bit for people who have never been there, and this is coming from an outsider. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So we go in, Ames. And I'm like, all right, this is the Gracie Academy. I'd been there before showing my friend, and it's beautiful. They have a small museum. It's amazing. It's like going to see the Rocky statue if you were a big fan of Rocky.
Okay.
It's like seeing the Michael Jordan statue if you're a Bulls fan for so many. But anyway, so we get there, and then the ladies at the front desk, I forget who they are. It was last year, and they just insisted with the most graciousness. They were so nice that we take class, so we did. We didn't have our belts, anything. So we walk on the mat. They give us white belts, which I didn't want. Huron, I swear I didn't want it. I didn't want to accept the white belt. So because I didn't want to give it off like I was trying to fool anybody. Because
you don't want to be that guy.
I didn't want to be that guy. Yeah.
Oh, got it.
Because I'm a brown belt, and my friend that was with me was a purple belt.
Okay.
So we didn't want to have that. I don't know if you ever felt that way, where I'm sure you have never felt that way, where you go into a room and nobody knows you and you're not wearing the rank.
No, I have. One
okay.
time that happened. You're not going to believe it. I can tell you after.
Okay.
Crazy story about this guy he said, "Hey, do you want to roll?" I was just it was no gi class. I was just some other kid that was there for the class, but keep going. Go ahead.
So yeah, we get in there. Me and my friend are waiting on the wall. I think everybody was doing warm-ups. We came in right as the warm-ups were ending, I believe. And we're waiting, and then the instructor comes over. He says, "Hi, nice to meet you guys." And then he looks at me again, and he's like, "You're not a white belt, are you? Neither of you are." And I was like, "How did you know?" And he's like, "What rank are you guys?" Like, he didn't give me an explanation.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, listen, this is the story," and we weren't prepared, but they insisted, and I'm a brown belt, he's a purple belt. He's like, "All right, cool, thanks for telling me." So then, you guys start to teach the technique, and you weren't there yet. I think you were teaching a private in the back. So the instructor was teaching the technique, and then you finally come in, and then I felt like, whoa, he's here.
He fanboyed, basically.
The man is here. The guy, the Gracie guy is here. And I had already been a fan of yours. So the first thing you did, you scanned the room, and then you saw the outsiders, and you made it a point to come over and introduce yourself. And that was a big deal for me, because not that I was like gonna run over and shake your hand after ask for an autograph and be a fan like that. It wasn't like that, but I was just appreciating being there, and I didn't expect, someone like you, someone who's kind of in the limelight, to have to do that.
Go out of his way.
Yeah, would normally the other way happens. The other guy comes in and gives the respects to the other guy, and you did that. Yes. Yeah,
normally it's a rule when. Well, especially when you come into class and the black belt's already there.
Yes. But
if the black belt comes in I would not say that you should stand up and speak to the black belt if you're already in your training. But yes, I have to know who's on my mat.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to know who's around. Could you imagine? I mean, the same goes for somebody who happens to be watching on the sidelines. If someone's just sitting on the bench watching, when I walk in, I need to acknowledge them and know who I'm dealing with.
True.
You never know who's in your class or who's watching, right? It could be somebody who just is watching on the sidelines who just got beat up very badly by their coworker. And if I don't even say hi to them, I miss the opportunity to help them and give them the gift of jiu-jitsu and learn their story. I have to break the ice.
True. Yeah,
and who knows? One day I could have, the son of or the daughter of somebody who owns Mercedes-Benz. You have all these people. This is America, so you never know who you're crossing paths with. Everybody's there. Everybody's your friend. Everybody, if they're in the building, they have a common interest.
Yes.
So it's family.
Yeah.
And you know what the problem with that is? A little bit is that just the whole thing about family and common interest is that now you have to be careful, because there's so many people that I have a problem with letting people in too close. Yeah. Like, I'm very hey, everybody's my friend. But then before you know it, 7 months later, a year and a half later, the guy's calling me every day, texting me, I need this. People are they go crazy.
Yeah, man. The text.
Another.
The floods, man.
We're
it's
friends,
tough.
But we're not that kind of friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why sometimes it's so hard for me to respond, because you give your number and then all of a sudden.
So that's why you don't text me back.
No, I just don't like you that much.
So getting back to my story real quick, just to wrap it up. So you came over, you said, "Hey, nice to meet you," and I was planning on getting up and saying once we broke, I didn't want to interrupt class. So once we stopped the technique, I was gonna go up and introduce myself. But you came over, you said, "Hi, nice to meet you guys. I'm Huron. Welcome to the academy." All those nice things. I was like, "Thank you. We really appreciate it." And the funny thing is, you said the same thing. Are you guys white belts? And I was like, man, is there a sticker on my face that says not a white belt? And
Well,
yeah.
number one is that you're in a class that's an advanced class. So you have to be a blue belt to be in there.
Gotcha. Okay.
True.
Nobody in there can be a white belt.
Oh,
but
that's why.
If the front desk, you told the front desk, yeah, I'm a brown belt, he's blue or purple.
Yeah.
Then they say, okay, you guys qualify. But you can borrow white belts for today. So,
okay.
And number two, you can kind of tell when somebody has trained. For some reason, there's a look when someone has trained for a year or two versus no experience.
Sure.
That's true.
And that's just something that when you see people every single day, I mean, people walk in the academy in street clothes and they'll have no cauliflower ear. And you just know. It's like, hey, where do you train?
Yeah.
Sometimes there's just a certain energy, and that's just with time. And sometimes you're wrong. I'm like, hey, where do you train? They're like, I've never trained before. I'm like, oh, okay, great. You're welcome.
Yeah. No, I hear you. So it's funny because right after you introduced yourself, you shook my hand. And you're like, all right, well, we'll get some training in today. I'll make it a point to roll with you. And I was like, oh, snap. Is this guy mad at me? But
no, I was ready to just let you arm lock me and choke me.
But
I was going to welcome you to Los Angeles.
Yeah. It was just like an honor. We didn't actually wind up training. There was like 50 guys on the mat. But it was nice to know. It was nice to get that from the instructor. And I hope that this educates people that may be in that situation. Right? So another thing I wanted to ask you, because it's something that I felt during that class when we started rolling. No one knew my rank that I rolled with. And how do you approach that? Should I tell someone, hey, right before we slap hands, hey, listen, my name is this and that. I'm a visitor today. I'm a white belt. I mean, I'm not a white belt. I'm actually a brown belt, just so you know. Or should we, how do we approach that?
No, I don't think that really matters. And I think it's nice that, if you do roll somebody that's a lower belt, maybe after, if you feel like it would help ease their mind.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's say you roll at the blue belt and you're a brown belt and you tap them 4 times.
Yes.
After, say, hey, thank you for rolling, just so you know, I'm a brown belt. I'm just visiting. I don't have my belt today.
Okay.
That way that blue belt feels like, okay, I can keep training here now.
True.
Yeah.
So, but if you roll with someone that's like a purple or brown belt and you guys roll, it's boom, boom, back and forth.
They know.
I would just shake hands and move on.
Yeah,
now that person, because when you're a purple or brown belt, you know when someone's a purple or brown belt.
Yeah,
true.
You can just sense that in the movement, in the roll. So you don't have to explain to them. But for some reason, a blue belt still might not process that someone can be wearing a white belt that is actually a higher belt.
Mm-hmm.
They're not even knowledgeable enough and experienced enough to make that conclusion on their own.
Sure.
But for example, if I roll with someone and they're wearing a white belt and they happen to be a black belt visiting from Dubai or Argentina, I don't even need to ask him what belt he is. I just know he's really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'll just tell him.
How do you approach the because I did that with I rolled with probably two blue belts and 2 purple belts. And with the blue belts, I wound up saying to them afterwards, hey, great job. It was great rolling with you. Just so you know, I'm a brown belt. I'm a visitor here. I didn't have my gi. And I kind of did feel that way to ease their mind so that they know, like, keep training. It's funny, like, I just wanted to know, like, how do I approach training? Let's say I'm about to go with a purple belt and I'm not wearing my uniform. I'm wearing that white belt. Should you ease into it or should you just go and show your true colors right from the jump?
Well, see, the definite showing your true colors. What I feel showing your true colors is different than what it seems you feel like showing your true colors is. I feel like showing my true colors is just lay down. Right? I'm going to let anybody who I roll with who's advanced, I'm just going to lay on my back and let them kind of play their game a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. And then,
right? Or not, or I'll have a good 1-for-1. One day I'll lay down, let them kind of side mount me and I'll defend everything perfectly, escape, get on top and control. And the other day I won't let them advance an inch. I'll stop everything, control and put them down and put them on their backs and hold them down.
Okay.
Sure.
So there's no wrong. There's no wrong or right. The important part is that when you're more advanced, more experienced, that you just protect the lower belt. And obviously, if you feel like they're being super wild and explosive to avoid being submitted, and they might do something like twist and run and jump in a crazy manner that might injure themselves out of fear of losing to a white belt. then it's up to you to almost be responsible and like release a little bit, because this guy clearly is behaving with so much. They're so worried about losing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that might be a small consideration, but I would not overthink it too much. Just come in and tap anybody you want out, but just do it with finesse and do it with technique and be smooth about it, and there's never a problem.
Okay. So just be yourself. Just come in.
If yourself is smooth, then yes, be yourself.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a brute by any
Great.
means. But it was a fun experience. Now, please tell us your story of being on the mat and no one knew who you were, which is
Good.
weird.
Or that guy.
Yeah,
Let's tell you guys.
please.
So I have 2 minutes and I have to go teach a class.
Okay, cool.
But the story is this. I'm at a gym, and it's like a MMA type gym, and some of my friends were there who were actually fighting the UFC. And I was there to train with them. And they basically come and train in the sparring portion of this class. The problem is that the class started 45 minutes late. It's very much like show up when it's very unorganized.
Okay.
So I'm there on time, and so we're like another 4 or 5 guys. Everyone's kind of sitting and stretching. There's a boxing ring. People are boxing right next to us. We're on the little mat area.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, yeah, class is kind of always 30 minutes late. We're just here. And the guy said, hey, well, do you want to work guard a little bit?
Okay.
And I said, yeah, I don't mind working guard. So what do you want to do? What do you have in mind? He said, I'll go in your guard and try to pass your guard, and then we'll switch.
Okay.
And so he went in my guard. I kind of like fought like at 30%, made him work a little bit, but then he passed my guard, side mounted me.
Okay.
And then we switched. He's probably a blue belt. He's holding me in his guard. And I passed and I side mounted him.
Okay.
And we did like 3 of those each. And then we did a couple of side mounts or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the guys started to show up, the guys who were teaching, and my friend who was the MMA fighter. And we started rolling him and I, and we're like, boom, no gi, killing each other.
Yeah.
10-minute, 8-minute rounds. And this kid was watching on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And he was like, what? Like, he didn't understand how I was rolling with this guy, this MMA fighter, who, at that well, like,
Yeah.
right? I'm mounting him, and I'm like escaping his controls, and it's like an amazing no-gi battle. And we're both black belts.
Okay.
So then he turns over to this other guy who was sitting there, a friend of ours too, and he's like, "Dude, what is this? Who is that guy?" He's like, "Man, that's Ryron Gracie." And the kid was like, "Oh my gosh!" And then my friend didn't know why he was kind of like confused. But he told me after that kid was so confused as to, he said, "Oh my gosh, that's Ryron Gracie." Oh man. So he finally realized that I was being helpful, and I making it a productive role for him,
man.
when we were practicing guard. So it's very rare, but it almost feels good. It almost felt good.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's like when you meet a girl. Like for me,
Yeah.
it's easier to meet a girl who doesn't know about the UFC and Jiu-Jitsu
Sure.
and MMA. If you meet a girl and she's like, "Yeah, oh my gosh, I love Conor McGregor," a part of me is like,
Cool story.
yeah, goodbye. Like you don't really want to. That's not a girl you want to marry.
Yeah.
Now she becomes an MMA fan in knowing you, but it's not really my style. So fortunately, my wife didn't know. I asked her because it was during Chuck Liddell. Chuck Liddell was the champ.
Okay.
I'm like, "Do you know who Chuck Liddell is?" When I first met her and we're dating.
That was the
or
test?
do you know Big John McCarthy? And
Yeah.
she said, "No." I'm like, "Great."
Now we can move on. To
We
the
got a
next
winner. Ring the bell.
thing. Awesome. Well,
Cool, guys.
Hiron, that was a great story. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you
we
so
really
much,
appreciate you
man.
coming on, man.
Of
Truly.
course.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, and if there's any way people could reach you, if anyone's around your place, where they can contact you.
Yeah. I mean, the Gracie Academy is in Torrance, but you can always check GracieUniversity.com. And we have lots of schools around the country and around the world that, offer our programs and really try to treat people the same way the Gracie Academy does. So it's very welcoming, very family. So GracieUniversity.com.
Awesome, man.
And Gracie University is where we have all of our teaching, right? All of our online lessons.
Okay.
It's a linear program. It's amazing. It's step-by-step, learning jiu-jitsu from home, which many people question if it's even possible. And I can tell you one thing. I've tested people who have only trained at home, and it's possible.
Okay.
So hopefully,
Dope, man.
if you don't have access to jiu-jitsu, there's your access.
Thank you
Awesome.
so much, man.
Well, cool. Hiron, thank you so much again. You're an inspiration. Your family is an inspiration. Thank you for coming on, and we hope this educates and inspires people.
Hey, thank you guys so much. I can't wait to talk to you again.
Thank you,
Thanks
man.
a lot, man. Take care,
Okay,
brother.
guys. Peace.